Our next subject being the creating of bank rules. So Xero is very, very powerful, and if used correctly can save you an awful lot of time, and especially when it comes to setting up and creating rules, it's amazing. And if you get the rules right, your bank reconciliation becomes so much easier. And so I'll give you a quick demonstration on that. Okay, so from the Reconcile tab, if you have repeating entry transactions, you don't want to constantly keep typing out a who, what, why. You want to set a rule in place to stop you having to constantly keep doing it. And I'm going to take Cooper Street Bakery as an example here. Every time you go to the bakery, you don't want to keep reminding yourself that you're paying subsistence. You want a rule set up so it constantly goes there by itself. So all you need to do within the first transaction that you're looking at, click on Options and create a bank rule. And now you get this screen come up. And what you're doing here is telling Xero what to do with this transaction every time it appears, giving it guidance on where to go. So we're going to say if any of the conditions match, what I would do is change this field to any text field so it picks up this wording every single time. Change the condition to contains, because sometimes, especially if you shorten it, it's not looking for so much. So if it contains the value of Cooper Street, then what do I do with it? Well, firstly, I give it a contact, i.e. a supplier. Create a contact. And then I'm telling the system what to do with it here. So I'll keep this simple. The description is bakery. I'm going to put this to travel. I'll cheeky and claim VAT back on it. And then I'm going to set the reference. And I generally select the reference from the payee. But it doesn't really matter where the reference comes from. It's just an added bit of information. And you've got several options. Then the final section is to run this rule on. And what you'll see here is a drop-down arrow. Now, if you've got more than one bank account, you'll have the option to select all bank accounts. Now, I do recommend that because if you get new bank accounts or get a new bank account and you haven't got that ticked, you're going to have to keep coming into these rules and selecting which bank account you want to use this rule on. If you select all bank accounts, then any new bank accounts will immediately adopt this rule so that if you use Cooper Street Bakery, that rule will apply. Once I'm happy everything's filled in, I click on Save. And then we have a dreaded internet slow period. There we go. Did that come through or did that? Ooh. Dramatic pause while we seem to have an issue with saving that. Ah, there we go. Third time's charm. Now, what you will see, now you created that rule, is every time Cooper Street Bakery comes up, it's going to apply the Cooper Street Bakery rule. Now, if you know that that transaction isn't standard, i.e. you bought something else, it's more client entertaining this time, you bought a whole load of stuff, you have the option here to not apply the rule. Don't apply the rule. It switches back to the Create tab, where you can then manually fill in the transactions. So bank rules are amazing, and the more you set up, the better. I do advise that you be a little bit careful with how you use the descriptions, because you can create some really daft rules if you're not careful, where if you've got something where any text field contains the word expenses, for example, then what will happen is every time it picks up expenses, it will try and apply that rule. Now, if you're not being careful and you're not watching your bank statement, you could accidentally allocate something to wherever you create that to, where you shouldn't. As a daft example, if any text field contains the word E, for example, I'm sure none of you would actually do that. So now I've said every time the bank transaction contains the word E, apply the rule. And what you're hopefully, so actually that hasn't worked, so maybe I've done something wrong with that rule. Yeah. That, by the way, is another common thing if it just contains. But now what it's going to do is every time it reads an E in the name, it's going to try and apply that rule. So you just got to be careful with what and how you can create those rules. But they are very, very good tool for speeding through your bank statement lines if used correctly.